Hi, I'm Carlos Sapene,
And I'm Dana Arnett.
and this is Wicked Marketing.
Welcome. We're so glad that you're here for our first podcast.
Yes. So the purpose of this podcast is for us, marketers. We've been in business for 5 years together, and I have over 20 years in marketing and technology.
And I have what do we say? I think it's probably 30 years in business. And we partnered up in 2015.
So you can tell Dana's older than me.
Every single time. It never misses a moment for doing that.
The purpose of this podcast is really to help people understand the value of marketing and how it can help them grow their business, expand their consumer base or customer base, and really create a brand that reaches people and engages people and has longevity
Right.
while they're building their business.
Right. There's so many ins and outs of marketing, and that we work with so many different types of businesses, which we'll get into as we go along in our podcast series. But there's so many types of businesses that we work with, and we've learned so much from what they need, what they don't have, what they understand, what they don't understand. And we really want to be able to help people and kind of address some issues and get some questions from people that we can hopefully solve some problems.
Yeah. And so we're going to start from the very beginning of why marketing is important to you, and that is the creation of your brand and the value of your brand long term. Because a lot of people come to us with a business idea, or they've had a business, but they know what their business is and what they're going out to sell, or the services that they're going out to offer, but they don't really think about how they present themselves, and that's usually because they don't know the value of how you present yourself.
Exactly. And there's maybe not even done the research to find out who is out there that might want to buy what they have, but how to approach those people and make that have their look and their brand consistent.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about why it is important to actually think about your brand.
Do you want to say what is a brand first? I think that's a good place.
So a brand is a group of elements that represents who you are, what you stand for, what you don't stand for, and how you want to present yourself in the market. A lot of people think that a brand is your logo and the name that you give your company, and then I'm ready to go, right?
So true.
I
Yes.
named my company. Usually people are trying to find names for their companies that actually have domain names available nowadays. Because
Like we did, is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Because
Our company, by the way, we haven't said that yet, is Wicked Bionic. We're a marketing and advertising agency.
Yeah. So a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to go sell this product or sell this service. This is going to be my name. They go online. They make sure the domain is available. Or they come up with a way to make the domain fit the name.
Right, true.
And then they think they're ready to go. But really, when you start thinking about what the goal is behind the name and the logo of your brand, is initially to be understandable and memorable, right? So something that people will remember when they need to go out looking for that service or looking for that product. Something that explains a little bit about what that product is all about. And so based on that, they develop this brand. So there's people that have business brands, and there's usually a business brand is a representation of a group of people working together towards selling a product or service. And there's people that have personal brands, meaning that it is a brand that's representative of themselves. And sometimes they go hand in hand.
And, we were talking yesterday about the attorneys that we work with and the difference between them working at a law firm and who they are as an individual. I think that's a good thing to talk about, who they are as an individual brand, because people don't necessarily think of just themselves without a product or something as a brand.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? In cases like law firms, that's the epitome of a personal brand, because your eventual goal is to become a named partner, meaning your last name becomes part of the name of the firm.
Right.
Every time people talk to me about creating a brand and say, I want to use my last name, or I want to use my full name as part of the firm, it's happened with accountants quite a bit.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, they use their full name. I always refer them to the concept of the idea behind having your name be the representation of your brand, especially when you're starting a business, and how considerable that needs to be of a decision, right?
Right. It's a long-term decision, really.
It's a long-term decision, and whenever you're starting a business in a new industry or in an industry that you've been a part of, but you've never gone out on your
Stood in
own
front of it.
and stood in front of it, you have to be aware of the fact that you are going to make mistakes. You are going to make all sorts of levels of mistakes, and that those mistakes are going to be attached to that name, that initial name that you went out there with. So when you're making that determination of, is it right for me at this point in time to utilize my name as the name of my brand, you need to think about things like everything that is going to happen from this point forward is not only attached to that brand as a business brand, but to my personal
That's
brand.
exactly right.
So wherever you go after that business, if it doesn't work out, hopefully it will, but if it doesn't work out, everything that happened then is going to follow
Right.
that name.
It doesn't mean you can't use it. It's just something kind of to consider a long-term strategy and what the
Yeah.
possibilities are along
And
the
the,
way.
and the same token goes for people that become part of brands that still need to consider the fact that they have a personal brand, going back to the attorneys.
Yes.
If they are part of a larger firm, they're not only representing that brand, but they're representing their personal brand, because as they work through their legal cases in their practice areas, the name of the firm resonates.
Is
but it's
attached
also
to them.
It's also the name of the attorney.
And we, on the branding side of that, we work with attorneys that want to kind of stand out in their field or in their practice area stand out from their colleagues or from the competition. So building that personal brand for them so that they can shine in an industry that's very competitive is, you wouldn't think that they're building their brand, but it's really important to develop who they are if they want to rise above and attract clients that way.
Yeah. So another thing to consider as well when you are coming up with the name of your brand is how known are you within the industry? How important is it for you to appear on search engines, for example, as a marketing tool? Because that's a discovery tool. That's where people go to discover new things, and they already have what we call in marketing intent. Intent means that they have an intention to look for a specific product or service. So they go to a search engine and they're going to search for that product or service. That's a place that if you're not well known in the industry, if you're not a known, what we call a known quantity, right, a known name, you may want to consider including either as part of the name or the tagline for the business exactly what your product or service is
Right.
all about.
People need to know, not just for search engine purposes, but they need to know by viewing not just your logo, but your tagline is so important, who you are. If you're a pet industry person and you name it, something like Black Dog, I don't necessarily know what that means, but it could be serving all large animals everywhere.
Yeah.
Some kind of a tagline so that you know what it is when you get there. So
Yeah.
that's important.
Yeah. So usually what we ask our clients to do is not only think about the name, there's really two types of people out there. There's the visual people, and then there's the text-based people.
Right.
So you also have to segment out and think of the people that are very visual. So one of the things that we ask our clients to do is go out there and look at images that they feel are representative of their brand. So you can do this by going on Google Images, just grabbing a photography book, and identifying images that you feel closely relate to what you're trying to represent.
Right, or somebody else's website that has beautiful things that feel like your brand, just grabbing those photos.
Yeah, grabbing those photos, and then you put them together. We call this a mood board, right? So it's the mood of your business. And then what you'll start to see is that there's similarities across these photos. My dad actually taught me this in a very different field. He is an interior designer.
Right, with an eye.
And the way that he would always decorate a room is he would pick a piece of art. And he would hang that piece of art in the living room of the place that he was decorating, and then he would grab colors.
He would decorate around the
He
art?
would decorate around
No
the art.
kidding.
Yeah.
I've never heard that
Yeah.
before.
So
Interesting.
he would pick colors of a painting that usually people have some piece of art that they love, that they really
sure.
feel represented by, or they feel like it
has
represents
meaning
their
in their heart or
family. Yeah, it's either,
connection.
in the cases where it represents family, it usually ties very close to home.
Yes,
right.
for sure.
So he would grab colors from it, and then based on those colors, he would pick the color for the rug, the color for the couch.
Wow. That
and-
better be a spectacular piece of art.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But it is your taste,
Right,
right? It
of
is your
course.
taste expressed in a visual form.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason why I really love putting together these mood boards for people
Mm-hmm.
and helping them pick out the colors. Now, the next step when you pick out those colors, because different from something as personal as decorating your living room, a brand is also about what it's going to represent for people.
Right.
It's
Well, and
not
that's
so
what-
much what you like, but what it's going to represent.
And there's such great ways to search too about colors that are, healthcare. That's why do you see blue? Why do you see that trust of blue is trust?
Yeah.
And so there's different things, there's different meanings that will give people certain feelings and thoughts.
Yeah, so when you think about marketing, right, it's all about awareness and engagement. People being aware that your brand exists and feeling that they can engage with that brand. So, like we were saying, one of the things that you want to think of is the science of color, right? We are a certain specific type of animal, right? The human being. We take in things through our five senses, right? Aside
Right.
from our brain processing them, we do the scent, smell, the
Taste, yep.
taste. So you want to take advantage of as much of this as possible. I've seen brands that really take into consideration the use of color.
Oh, look at Coca-Cola. That red has been emblazoned in our brains forever, and it will always be the same. It will always
and
be that.
red is one color that is a very big challenge for brands because depending on the tonality of red, it can go from passion to anger.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the things. It's not only the colors that you pick, but what tonality you pick for those colors that is important in order for it to be really representative of what you want people to feel.
And
when they see your brand.
and what's so great is you really can research on the web. You can do, I have like I was saying, a pet care brand. Is red an appropriate color, identifiable color, or so many things to be able to see what could be possible.
Yeah, so it does take some time, and it is important to take that time at the beginning to look at what your color is going to represent for your brand. There's other brands out there. One comes to mind. There's this brand that I know in Spain that has a specific scent to it, and it's a clothing brand.
What? And
Yeah.
I mean, the clothes have a smell.
The store has a scent to it
Interesting.
that you can smell from a block away from the store. It's ridiculous how strong the scent is, but it's a really pleasing scent. And what I came to realize, it's a store that is from Portugal. It's very common in Spain. And I was walking around Paris in one of the bigger stores like Macy's that carried the brand. And as I was nearing a certain area,
No way.
I could smell the scent of, it's called El Ganso. I could smell the scent of El Ganso, and it just immediately triggered me to go
How
because
smart.
it is a brand that I
How
love.
smart. Wait. I have to tell you. We were at the Marriott in Napa Valley last month, and we walked into the Marriott, and we're smelling this smell, and we're like, what's that? And then it was in the elevator, and we're like, oh, somebody must have been wearing some very strong cologne. And we asked the housekeeper, what is that smell? And she said, every day at 4 o'clock, the hotel sprays this smell. Well, the smell was not good. And by the time there was a lineup by the third day because the smell was so strong, permeating every room and our clothes, that there was a line to tell people at the front desk, please do not spray this. So it's not true. So the smell
So
matters.
You have to be.
And you have to
you
test.
You have to test it, and you have to.
But
be
that's
conscious if
brilliant
you're
for
gonna
what that
take-
brand did in Spain.
It is, and I also experienced something like it with Burger King. Right, so Burger King had an ad on a very busy street in New York. Recently, I was there, And as I was walking by, they were promoting some new fries, French fries. I don't know
Oh,
what
no.
was special about the French fries.
Have
It
a blower?
smelled
They
so
put a blower
good.
outside.
No, it smelled so good,
Oh, I
like
bet.
those French fries, that
I
I
bet.
literally wanted. It was a busy street, so you were passing by, and
Oh
it's
my
just a
God.
smell.
It's brilliant. It's
So when
brilliant.
I
It leads us
turned, I
in.
saw the billboard for the new fries from Burger King.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's
That scent
brilliant.
brought me in.
Yeah.
So
So we're going to give our clues about. We want to keep our podcast somewhat short in that 20 minutes, so that if you're driving, you can listen to us on the way to work. And so we really kind of wanted to give the newcomer to branding and developing some bit of oversight, and we can talk a little bit more about how to, once you've got your mood board and you've got your colors and your images and your name, what the next step would be.
yeah, so I think that the next step of it is also determining what your visual brand is going to be, and that at the crown of the visual brands is your logo. That logo that's going to represent your brand going forward, and it is part of what makes it recognizable when people see it again. A lot of people tend to think, "Oh, I'll just go and pay, $500 for a logo,
Or Fiverr and $5.
or on Fiverr, and I'll get it for $5 or $10 or whatever," uh, because they don't understand the value of that logo long term to them. The perception. One of the things you'll hear me say a lot during these podcasts is perception of value. And people tend to attach a price tag to an organization or a brand that they're engaging with. And that's based on several elements. One of the elements is the look of the brand and the look of their logo. So if you look cheap,
Right.
people are going to assume that your quality is cheap.
And if you're the kind of business that is selling $1.99 sports bras, it's important always. It doesn't mean that somebody with an unsexy logo or something, or colors or whatever. There's plenty of people out there that are making money,
Yeah.
right? Plenty of people.
Yeah.
But we always want to talk about, a higher level of, and that doesn't mean a higher price point, just a higher level of how to have a level of excellence so that you go out with class and that you look
Well,
good.
and that's the thing, right? We've had clients that do sell that $1.99
Sports bra.
And it's not so much about that. It's about the perception of the quality of the $1.99 sports bra.
Yes.
So these guys had a mid-level brand. It was mildly pleasing to the
for sure.
eye.
Lots of options.
It was a little, probably not that memorable, but it was mid-level.
Yoga pants
and they sold yoga pants. But the initial perception of people was the quality of these products has to be crap
for $3.99 yoga
they're
pants or
so
something, sure.
cheap compared to what the industry is. And what we came to learn is that another part of the sustainment of a brand is the perception, right? So
Right.
what helped them in that case was the comments that people placed on the advertising that we had placed for them.
Paying attention, yes.
And the fact that we kept those comments rolling through the ads, so you could see as people bought more and more and more of these.
And raved about it.
And
They
how
were the best
they were
advocate
raving.
for our advertising. It
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah. So it is, as I said before, a brand is a set of elements. It's not just a logo. It's not just the name. It's the logo, the name, the colors, the perception that you're putting out there, the quality of the perception that you're putting out there, and then a reflection of how people engage with it.
Exactly.
In the comments
And it's fun, it's okay to look at the competition and see what they're doing as well. It does not have to define what you're doing, but it's interesting to see what else is out there and what other things people are doing. And it's always good to get, Carlos was saying about getting a logo, whatever it might cost. I mean, you could spend $15,000 on a logo, but there's also, if you're going to a place like Fiverr, which is Fiverr, you can spend $5 or you can spend $100 on a logo, but is to get a lot of options.
Yeah.
So you can start seeing different things and see what speaks to you about your brand.
Yeah. Another option, just as we close this, is 99 Designs. It is a place where you can go and put out a bid, and people can send a bunch of logos, and you can pick and narrow and refine until you get to the logo that you like for a specific budget.
Yep. So there's lots of things, and I think thank you everyone for that's listening, because we're so passionate about marketing. We're so passionate about sharing our experience with others. And if you like this episode, please follow us on iTunes and subscribe and leave a review. And we'll certainly pay attention to any comments and address any questions on our next podcast going forward. So thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for being with us.